So you want to know about what I remember about the war?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I remember is that the soldiers always loved marching through the streets, and I lived on the main street of our town, and
So
we would
were these the German soldiers?
yes,
Okay.
we would follow behind them, quite a ways behind them, like with some of my friends and my sister, and we would dare to yell, "You dirty Krauts!" And one time, of course, we spoke Dutch. Uh, we knew that for the German soldiers, we called them Moffe, which means Krauts. Anyways, we would yell at them. And one time, one of the soldiers, right at the end of the guys that were marching, and they always sang. When they were marching, they were singing, and they were good singers. And this one soldier turned around, and I presume he pretended to come run after us. Well, that scared the wits out of us. We ran into somebody's backyard and cried, and the lady, she took us inside, and I never did that again because it scared me crazy. I can also remember we slept in the attic of our house, which was like a bedroom, with all of us 7 kids. And my mom and dad had a bedroom up front, but I can remember the airplanes going over, droning, like,
Yeah.
and it happened a few times that bombs fell outside of our town. And another thing that I do remember is when that last year, I guess they were bombing from Rotterdam. They were shooting these V1s or V2s. They were Zeppelins, bombs
Oh.
over the channel into England. And they would until we couldn't hear them no more. But sometimes they exploded and we could hear that. I lived very close to the North Sea, like a 20-minute walk away from the North Sea. And during the war, we never went there, of course, because there was bunkers all over the place. Where the soldiers were held up. Or the last year, my dad wasn't there very much. My dad was in the resistance. And I remember when we stood along the street when all the guys got picked up at a certain age group. I don't know if it was from 16 to 40 or 50. They were all being picked up in order to work in factories in Germany. Well, maybe they even, what they were making was weapons and all that kind of stuff. And that's what Hank's dad got picked up for, to work in a German factory. And so when these guys were being picked up, I remember standing on the sidewalk in front of our store, and all these men, with soldiers beside them. And we said to Mom, well, where's Papa? Because we called him Papa. And she says, over there, over there. Well, we just couldn't see him. You know why? He wasn't there. He was in hiding. And he stole stuff right back from the Germans. Like, one time, I was told later, he came home with a bag of grain, and there was a hole in the bag, and he left a trail, and he didn't realize that until he got close to the house. Well, guess what? He went out there and took a broom and got rid of that trail. Well, I'll tell you one thing I remember very, very well.
Right.
And that was when the Canadian soldiers came. And they came riding into town on jeeps, like loads of them, by loads, how many soldiers can you get on a jeep?
Yeah.
But there was lots of them. And everybody yelling, the Canadians are here, the Canadians are here. And man, as scared as I was of the German soldiers, because one picked me up one time, I was just very little. And, they probably had kids at home, and so they missed their kids. And here I'm out on the street, and he picked me up and kind of juggled me in the air. I kicked him so hard, I think I kicked him right in his face. He let me go real quick. But when the Canadian soldiers came, I wasn't scared of them at all. Somehow you knew that they weren't the enemy. What I remember is that they had chocolate bars. And we soon got chocolate bars. Oh, and another thing that we had never experienced before was French fries. And I don't know where the idea came from, but like in those trailer kind of things, they were selling French fries, not necessarily the soldiers. There's another thing that I remember after the war, that almost immediately when the Canadian soldiers came in, the girls who had chummed around with the German soldiers, they got picked up and they shaved their heads. They did, right on our street.